asked my landlord about the unit across the alley, and he told me it was vacant and had been for months. I pressed him, asked if maybe someone had moved in recently, but he shook his head. He even joked that I was being paranoid. I considered calling the police, but ultimately didn't because I felt like reporting someone possibly looking at me through a window in an empty apartment sounded ridiculous. There was no crime or proof, just a feeling that grew worse every night. Then one night, everything escalated when I came home later than usual, around 4 a.m. The bar had hosted a private event and cleanup ran long, so I was exhausted and not thinking clearly. When I reached my door, I noticed something stuck in the frame. At first, I thought it was junk mail or a flyer, but when I pulled it free, I realized it was a crumpled note. It simply said, "Hey," written in pen. My legs went weak because the first thought I had was the apartment across the alley, so I ran to the window and looked across. The curtain was drawn and there was no movement. I called my friend Jamie, panicking. She lived across town but told me to come over right away. I grabbed a backpack, stuffed some essentials into it, and got out. The next day, I confronted the landlord again. This time, I demanded to see the apartment across the alley. He hesitated, but eventually agreed to meet there with the key. The place was dusty and completely empty, with not a single piece of furniture. The walls were bare, and the floor creaked with every step as if the place were 100 years old. But there, in the back room facing my window, was a single metal folding chair. It was positioned directly in front of the window, and they had access to an apartment that was supposed to be locked and empty. The police were called and they searched the place. I'm pretty sure they took fingerprints, but nothing came of it. The fact that my paranoia was correct the entire time, and that I was in fact being watched, it made me sick, wondering how long the stretches of time that sicko would watch me would be. I moved out that week. To this day, I have no idea who was watching me, how they got in, or how long it would have gone on if I hadn't found that note saying, "Hey." I've considered the possibility of it being the landlord, but ultimately I had to drop that theory because there's no way in hell he wouldn't have went over there to remove that chair before bringing me over there. I still dream about that window, and sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night certain that someone, somewhere, is still watching me. When I was 12, my family moved to a rural area in Oregon, miles from the nearest town. We lived on a large piece of land surrounded by dense pine forest. It was peaceful, quiet,